Welcome. In this class, we would be talking about some of the major important topics that you need to study for GS, that's General Studies for IAS CSAT, IAS Prelims. So what we will be doing here is an analysis of 2014 and 15 paper, and based on that, we have some quick tips and recommendations that you can do for the last 2 days and brush up all your syllabus, because it's hard to work around with a lot of content in in General Studies. So you have, if we try to understand what we know and we don't know, what we need to do towards the end is analyzing ourselves. Rather than sitting with a burden of books and getting confused what to study or what to revise in the last 2 days, it's important that you track out areas that you are thorough in, and you just for now leave out the areas which you don't know, that you are not even sure about or you have not even heard about. So it's better to leave out those areas in the last 2 days, because if you try to focus on these areas, you will you will not be able to cover these areas in which you are good at, or you can absorb more. So what we need to focus is mainly on this section, the areas that you know that you are not sure about. So it's better to focus on the areas which is, I could say, an intersection of what you know and what you don't know. Now here what we have done is the analysis of 2014 and 15. The first graph shows 2014 and the next one shows 2015. So as you can see, we have the various subjects based on which we have done the analysis. So more or less I can say the pattern of question remains the same. So you have nearly same number of questions from each section that is being asked every time. Economics, this time for 2015 there was an increment of 5 questions. For polity there was an increment of 4 questions. For history and culture, it was more or less the same, so the number remains around 15 to 20 questions. So what I can suggest here is, history forms around, out of the total 100 questions, you have 15 to 20 questions from the section on history and around 20 to 25 questions that are asked from geography. So these two sections form the main pillars for General Studies Prelims. If you are good at these two sections, you can clear out the remaining section even with the recent information that you have. Questions from the section of technology, international relations and national programs are mainly those related to current happenings or current events. So you have around 15 questions directly which are based on recent events or current happenings. So if you are very thorough with the daily news, you are sure to score good with these 3 sections. Then remains economics, politics and science. For science, I could say there is a kind of 50-50 division. So 50% questions from the conventional science topics and 50% questions based on recent developments in science or recent things that were in news in scientific areas or scientific developments. So for science you have a 50-50 division. Political science and economics also you have around 3 to 4 questions from both polity and economics that are based on recent events or current happenings, and the remaining questions are based on conventional topics or the core subject. However, for history and culture, most of the questions, I could say nearly all of the questions are based on the conventional subject. So if you are thorough with your history, you are sure to score good here. And then for geography and environment, again I would say out of 20 to 25 questions, around 5 to 6 questions are from recent happenings in the field of geography. Like there can be, if there is an important event that is happening, for example, if we take the example of Olympics right now, you have Olympics being held at Rio. So what could be asked is the 4 places in which the Olympics would be held and the matching districts or the matching regions in that in the global picture could be asked. That is one way. Another way is on the map itself, on the map of South America, you could be asked to mark out the important places. That could be again a probable question. It's not necessary there is a question related to map, but there can be a question which asks about location, and those locations mainly related to the events that are happening in recent time. So this is the broad analysis that we focus on for general studies. Based on this, we have some strategy that we would follow for the 2016 examination. So based on this, we have some focus areas that we have found out. So for 2014, the basic focus areas were missile launches, developments in the field of space defense, the various organizations that were held, and then you have the various summits. So organizations like various bodies of UN, and then you had various summits related to environmental change, summits related to population control, or so on and so forth. So you have various summits, international organizations, defense, space and missiles. That was focus area for 2014. For 2015, the main areas that were asked were related to government policies. So all government new policies, programs that were introduced. Then, as I mentioned, places and news. So it was asked from the geographical perspective. So it became a section of geography, I would say. So what if there is a major summit that took place somewhere? So where that region was, and if there are 3 or 4 summits that took place, so I say summit A, B, C, D, okay, and then you were asked to match the places in which those summit took place. So that could be a kind of question when we talk about places and news. So places and news was a focus area for 2015. Then you have the basics or the fundamentals of world geography that were important for 2015. There were a lot of questions on basics of world geography and economic terminologies. So you should be very well with economic terminologies, and I believe that this topic, the economic terminology, should be ready at the time of prelims for the level of mains. So you should be done with all 2 markers that you need to go for mains for economic terminologies, and then major international events that have happened and major international decisions that took place. So these were some of the focus areas for 2015. Based on this, we have chalked out some major topics for 2016 this time. Here are the list of topics that we would be working around. So that you need to focus on definitely for this time, and I believe there should be at least 4 to 5 questions from the list of topics that we have discussed here. So Kelkar report, the public-private partnership, the new education policy that has been introduced is in draft, the major educational reforms, the changes in the pattern of the common medical entrance system, then you have the national aptitude test that is being planned to introduce in spite of the common IITs, and the new IITs, IIMs that have been established. The automation plan that talks about the development in India automobile sector. Ujala scheme, then you have Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana, that is the Uday Yojana. Paris Summit on Climate Change that was held in December, so you have a kind of the questions could be probably asked on this. Then you have Niti Aayog. We have already taken a class on Niti Aayog and 7th Pay Commission, so you can go through these classes for detailed analysis. Then you have the goods and service tax, that is important. Highlights of both the railway budget and the general budget. Gravity waves and Higgs boson, so that's again important. The establishment of Defence Industrial Park, the first of its kind in India, in Kerala, so that's again important. The largest greenhouse gas leakage that took place in California for the methane gas. Zika virus and Ebola virus, the differences between the 2 viruses and the highlights of these viruses. Then 2016 you had the motor vehicle amendment bill that was passed, and the national mineral exploration policy. Both of these are important. Then Zoological Survey of India, similar to the IUCN, lays out the a list of endangered species in India. So you have the red data book for Indian species released by Zoological Survey of India. This did extensive work on Northeast India this time. So there is a list of endangered species, or the species that were flora and fauna. Along with fauna, you have also a list of flora that were declared endemic in northeastern region. So this is a important section this time. Then you have Sundar Pichai being one of the major Indian immigrants positioned in Google. So other major Indian immigrants are also important this time. Manjuli Island has been declared as India's first island district. Then you have launching of FDI in aviation, defense and e-commerce, which is important. So you need to have a detailed understanding of these topics. Rio Olympics, it's not only the Rio Olympics you need to know about, but all the Indians who have participated in Olympics so far, all the Indians who are participating in 2016 Olympics, and all the places in Brazil that would be the center for the Rio Olympics. Then you have the text reforms in the name of rapid. So you have all the 5 keywords here, based on which you have a kind of clear and transparent accountability system. So you have the tax reforms and the black money income disclosure scheme. So that's again important. Then you have beam that was recently placed in the International Space Station. It's a kind of inflatable room that was known as beam. Net zero energy building projects. These talk about focus on renewable energy. So in this budget there was a major focus on renewable energy. Again, the share of various renewable energies is important. So the contribution of solar energy, wind energy and their allocation is important. Now there you have Pakke Tiger Reserve, which is in Arunachal Pradesh, which has been given the Indian Biodiversity Award for 2016. So this is again important. Again with this you have other tiger reserves, so you can be asked a question where you are asked to match the places, the states with the major tiger reserves. So that could be again a probable question for from geographical point of view. Then you have the Bharatvani portal. The e-waste, for e-waste India now stands as the 5th largest contributor of e-waste. In India there has been the first time you have the Islamic Development Bank, which has established its branch, and that is in Ahmedabad. You have the National Capital Goods Policy 2016. So potassium bromate being found in the bread, which is toxicity. The legal limits that are permissible is 50 parts per million. So again, information on potassium bromate and more discussion is important. The topics that I am covering should be dealt in with good detail. Smart City project, the Red Line campaign on medicine. You have the ENAM, the National Agricultural Market, the app, the G7 summit this time, and Asmita under the Asha Asmita Yojana, that's a student tracking system. Then you have the Cyclone Ronu, India's relation with Mozambique, Mauritius, South America, Mongolia and China, and all major places where Prime Minister recently visited or their Prime Ministers visited India. So their head of states or Prime Minister, whenever they visited, these become the focus area from the point of Indian polity, questions based on Indian polity. LPG subsidy, direct benefit transfer scheme, OROP, that is one rank one pension. Mangalyaan, launch of Mangalyaan, composition drugs that are being banned in India. The world's first robot lawyer, which has been known as Ross, and it is being taken by one of the US firms. Rakesh Jain, who has been awarded the US National Medal for Science Awards, his work and his discoveries, some important authors. Then you have Ashok Dalwai committee, that's the committee based on doubling the farmers' income by 2022. So these are some of the major highlights that we would discuss. You can also find these as one of the updates at Examrace IAS section. So once you go there, you will have the list of all the topics that we are suggesting you to cover. Then what is important? Close eye on news from a spatial perspective. So what event is happening where and the highlights of the event you should be able to chalk out quickly. You should not miss any single information based on summits, global, national as well as international, especially related to environment and international organizations. You should cover all programs and policies that have recently been released in India or launched in India. So don't leave a single policy or program untouched. Watch out for all new amendments, bills, governance and the governance changes that have been taking place. And finally, work in the field of technology, all research and development from the science and technology perspective. So these were the basic highlights for the GS paper. Since the syllabus is so broad, we suggest you to cover these specific areas. Would be a good idea to cover just with the last 2 days left. Wish you all the good luck. Have a good day ahead. You can subscribe to our channel for all further updates. Have a good day ahead.